Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by Giant Mess. That's me, the real cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and middling middle relief pitcher who earned himself a film and media studies degree. Humble brag. And now I'm a single dad who likes to talk New York Mets baseball, New York Giants football, movies, TV, comedy. I like to mix in some life stories and life lessons along the way. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the first half of the New York Metro's 2024 Major League Baseball season. The ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, AB, select start, top moments, the top stories, and what we can expect in the second half and at the trade deadline. So without further ado, let's get it started in here. Yeah. All right. Your New York Mets, our New York Mets, my New York Mets. What a season this has been. It feels like it's been 5 seasons tucked into one. Just a nice little shoehorn into one season. You know, last time I talked about the Mets on this here pod, it was the beginning of May, end of April. We were just at 500. We were playing against the Cubs. Pete Alonso was tagging up and trying to score on a sacrifice fly to tie it up and was thrown out at home. All he had to do was put his hand down and touch the plate. That's all he had to do, and he couldn't do it. He kept his hand up, and so we ended up losing that game. I cannot lie. I got a little bit of George Wash up in this piece, up in my DNA. I cannot lie. I watched games, but I didn't have a lot of faith. And it goes against our core mantra as Mets fans. You got to believe, right? You can't stop believing. Don't stop believing. Journey made a song about it. But May was a tough month, dude. We were 26-33 at the end of May. We went 9-19 in the month of May. We gave up 154 runs, 321 winning percentage. We had wins in the palms of our hands, right there for the taking. And our bullpen said, no, thank you. You can keep those dubs. We prefer L's. So while the bullpen was one of the strongest in the league in April, it was one of the worst in May. 35 runs were allowed in the 8th inning and after in the month of May. We were 3-6 leading after 7 innings. 3-6 leading after 7 innings. Nonstop, I get these notifications on my Apple Watch, you know, from Echo or Amazon or whatever. Close game alert. And Major League Baseball and every other app I subscribe to. Even my Whole Foods app was like, close game alert. I got that on my Apple Watch nonstop in the month of May. There were so many goddamn close games. It felt like that's all we did was play close games, but we were just losing them constantly. And it felt like, we either had walk-off wins or we would go into extra innings and get blown out in extra innings. It's like I've never seen so many games where it's like the final score is 11-5 in 11 innings. Like, what? That, and it happened on loop. It was just like the never-ending story. Our fielding was putrid, horrid, bottom of the barrel. And I remember talking to my daughter's friend's dad, who's a Phillies fan. And I was like, you guys are running away with this thing. I can't imagine you guys not being in the World Series. And I was saying all that kind of as a reverse jinx, reverse con, long con type of thing, where it's like if I speak it, the more I speak on it, I'm not speaking it into existence. You know, it's the reverse of that. Like I'm speaking it into non-existence. Like the more I say that they're going to the World Series, the more I'm mushing them, cooler style at the casino. So, um, it just the bullpen sucked. Diaz got hurt, and Ottavino's taking a step back. Reed Garrett's, I mean, the whole bullpen took a step back, to the point where, we had there was the Jorge Lopez incident where he, untucks his shirt. He's walking off the mound and he throws his glove into the stands high up over the net. And in the post game conference, he's saying, this is the worst team ever. And apparently, English is not his first language. And he was really saying that he's been the worst teammate ever, or he was the worst teammate ever. Possibly lost in translation. The team said, well, as much as we'd like to pay for a Duolingo account or Rosetta Stone, we're just going to opt to designate you for assignment. So I think he ended up with the Cubs. But there was an article from the Baltimore Sun 2 years ago by a columnist or journalist named Andy Koska that told the story of Jorge Lopez's son, Mikhail, who has spent most of his life hospitalized, suffering from autoimmune disorders. And I guess Boomer Esiason on WFAN said that he learned that Mikhail was awaiting a transplant. So that's got to be weighing on the guy, right? Anytime, you see someone in a bad mood, and I mean, I'm permanently in a bad mood. So, and a lot of people don't know why. It's like, when I worked at SNY, I was almost forever in a bad mood there for a number of reasons, but I was going through a very awful divorce. And I had told my boss that, and my boss was like making jokes and smiling, and I guess she had been divorced before, and I don't know if she took any of that into consideration. I mean, it's no excuse for the way I behaved, right? I need to behave better. But, and it's not excusing Jorge Lopez, but this is not like some, privileged whatever dude who's just a crybaby. It's like he's got some serious shit going on at home. So I don't think we should have crucified him the way we did. And it's funny that it's the media, the New York sports media, dear God, why would any athlete or player want to play here? I can tell you why. Because if you win, you're like a legend and an icon for the rest of your life. The fan bases will never forget you. You'll constantly be honored. You've got a golden ticket, right, for the rest of your life. Pretty much. You do that somewhere else, like in I guess Arizona or Kansas. It's like I don't know if you get the same kind of esteem that you would. At least that's the selling point, right? And the other selling point is endorsements and all that jazz. But my God, the New York sports media will take you down in an instant. And they were all over that, and they're pushing it everywhere. And honestly, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I know that Gelbs gave him a second chance to clarify, and he kind of doubled down on it and said, whatever. But, guy, English is not his, not his native tongue. So I don't know. They got to show some grace to Jorge on that one. But it was like we were in shambles, dude. Omar Narvaez was designated for assignment. That was like our big free agent signing last year. Oof, boy, that guy. That's one of the worst Mets tenures. Not as bad as Jed Lowry, obviously, but one of the worst Mets tenures that you could possibly have. I mean, we were all up and down James McCann. we were we were not too keen on James McCann and Narvaez wasn't much better. And then we had the team meeting, right? Players only meeting. And most of the time, whenever you have a players only meeting, I don't know. Majority of the time, it doesn't really work out. It doesn't really change things. But this one apparently did. You know, they don't typically get you results. It's kind of that in the majority of cases is like the beginning of the end. That's like the death knell, right? But in this case, I guess it really did. It didn't. The results weren't immediate, right? There were still a couple games after that where it's like, oh, great. Well, thank God we had that players only meeting. A lot of good that did. But ultimately, that was people are pointing to that point in time as the momentum shift. That's when things changed. JD Martinez, who's been around the block, been around the world, he said that it was one of the best meetings he's ever been a part of. And judging by the numbers and the results, yeah, it worked. Whatever they said in there, whatever happened, it worked. Now, there are a bunch of moves that have happened since then that I think have gone a long way. And it wasn't just like we stuck with that team that was in that meeting and everything's a kumbaya. I mean, they definitely had to move some pieces to get where they are now. But like the cores performed. I guess that's the biggest takeaway is like the core stepped it up. Lindor's been playing out of his mind. Nimmo playing out of his mind. Alonso's been playing better. McNeil, not so much. I don't even know if you can really consider McNeil as part of the core anymore, considering that his playing time has been reduced, which some would say is long overdue. It's like the he's just in a funk, and it seems like he's not. It's either he's consistently good the whole year or consistently bad the whole year, and so it feels like this is a slump year for him. So, but like on June 2nd, so we were what 26 and 33 at the end of May? No, 24 and 33 at the end of May. Learn how to do mathematics, you idiot. 24 and 33 at the end of May. My apologies. And on June 2nd, we dropped to 24 and 35, right? And I subscribed to The Athletic. The Athletic released two articles. The first of which was on June 3rd. It was titled MLB Trade Deadline Tiers, Buyers, Sellers, and Those in Between. And that was released on June 3rd. The Mets were listed as sellers, top sellers. Like they got a lot of pieces that people will be probably interested in, and so they're going to be selling off. 10 days later, on June 13th, The Athletic released another MLB trade deadline article, and it said that we're going to be selling off, and that our two top chips as of that publish of that article are Pete Alonso, which has been, I mean, that's been the talk. Up until that point, it felt like people were talking about that error day. And Luis Severino, who's having like probably I think the best season of his career. Some say he should have been an all-star. I mean, a lot of people should have been. There were a few Mets who should have been all-stars, which we'll get to. But, they were definitively across the board. Everyone was the Mets are going to be sellers. The Mets are going to be sellers. The Mets are going to be sellers. On May 31st, we allowed 3 first-inning runs to the Diamondbacks, and it was like, here we go again on my own. And we had been averaging a little under 4 runs per game at that point, and we had ranked in the middle of the majors, or worse in most major categories. And then we scored 4 in the bottom of the first, had a 10-run outburst, and we have owned the best offense in baseball ever since. I don't think I've ever would have expected those words out of my mouth. We're the best offense in baseball. We're averaging more than 6 runs per game in that 6-week span. In those almost 40 games, we hit double digits 6 times and scored at least 7 runs in 17 games. Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, as I mentioned, each own an OPS greater than 950 in that span. We also had contributions. We had the breakout of Mark Vientos, which is, I guess I need to apologize for my comments about Vientos. I think was it last year or the year before? People have been clamoring for this guy to be called up and start over Beatty, and I didn't see it. But I guess I should have, because even though his batting average didn't reflect it, the guy was crushing the ball. I mean, the average exit velocity off his bat was over 100 consistently. You know how they have those graphics at the bottom where it's like, the average exit velocity top of the game. Vientos was almost always in the top 3 in most of those games. He just wasn't able to find the grass, find safe landing for his balls. We had the return of Francisco Alvarez. I remember the last time I had talked about the Mets, like, I was like, well, Alvarez is hurt. We'll see how that impacts the team. I didn't think it would impact the team that much, but holy shit. Like, and not just from a offensive standpoint, hitting the ball, batting, but you could also say chemistry, energy, good vibes, aura, as the kids say. But how he handles the pitching staff, it is night and day when you look at how the pitchers pitch ERA wise when Alvarez is not behind the plate and when he is behind the dish. They are like lockdown, shut down type staff when he's calling pitches. I'm going to say ERA under 3, closer to 2 when he's not receiving on the receiving end. It's like over 4. So what an impact that guy makes. And this guy's like only 22 or something like that. Just sign him to all the extensions. Like, just make him a Met for life. Harrison Bader has also come on. I didn't have like really high expectations for Bader. I was like, oh yeah, defensively he'll save us some runs here and there. If and when he gets on base, he'll swipe some bases here and there. But I didn't think that he would be clutch offensively, and he has been in a bunch of big games, big spots. So, and then of course you have Jose Iglesias. Candelita, which we'll get to all that later on in the ep. But here's a guy that was an all-star in 2015, didn't play in 2023, and is just, as his stage name suggests, has been a firecracker, just a spark plug, a spotlight, a headlight, and has, just infused crazy amounts of good feelings in this ball club, to the point where, like, we have our thing, right? We talked about the Phillies and how they had that friggin' song by whoever when they went to the World Series and lost to the Astros. They had their thing, right? They had that song, Dancing by Yourself, whatever the fuck it's called. Now we have our song. There's things throughout the season that the team can latch on to. That's the catalyst, right? Not the catalyst, but the driving force, the motivator, the thing that it's like this is a horrible analogy, but Inception, when Leo DiCaprio has the spinning top, it's like, it's that token that you can look to and hold on to. And it's like, it just propels you forward. So it seems like we have that thing, and Jose Iglesias is a big part of that. So since the end of May, the Mets rank first in the majors in runs and OPS while sitting second in home runs. Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. The bats have come alive. And you can't 100% say that the offense is responsible, right? You still need pitching. And though the bullpen has been depleted and had their rough spots in May. They've kind of righted the ship somewhat in June. It's still a major concern, right? So the starting pitching, though, we said we liked what Severino was doing. Maneo was kind of all over the place. Hauser was a disaster. Quintana, when he had control, was good. When he didn't, it was awful. We kept thinking we were going to get Kodai Senga back every other week, and it get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And then McGill and Peterson came back, and it's again, McGill's pretty decent at home, awful on the road, and then McGill gave us some good starts. So the starting pitching has, while the bullpen has kind of let us down here and there, starting pitching has been able to keep us in games. We went 16-8 in June. Very anti-Mets like. I feel like June has historically been such a shitty month for us. And we scored 153 goddamn runs in June. So as many runs as we gave up in May, that's how many we scored in June. Averaging more than 6 runs a game, as I mentioned. And, we're 9-5 so far in July. Now I'm 49-46, over 500. If you were to ask me, we've gone 23-13 since the end of May, I think. If you were to ask me at the end of May, Memorial Day weekend, hey, the Mets are going to be 3 games above 500 and have the final and be in the final wild card spot at the All-Star break, I'd have been like, Broseph, let me get hit of what you smoking. Okay? What kind of pills you got floating through that system of yours? Let me get some. I mean, the bullpen is still a big concern. There's no doubt about that. It really, and it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the starting pitching. It's the complete flip of what I was saying before in the beginning of the season, where it's like the starting pitching is only going 4 innings, maybe into the 5th, never beyond the 5th, and that puts a lot of strain on the bullpen. Now we're saying, well, the starting pitching has to go 5 into the 6th and through 6. Hell, give us 7 because the bullpen is struggle city. So Jose Buto and Daniel Nunez, 2 standouts in the bullpen. Buto, of course, had a couple of really good starts and kind of fell off and got demoted and got shuffled around. But he came back up and he's been a pretty solid performer out of the pen. And Daniel Nunez was promoted along with Jose Iglesias, and he has been rock solid. Edwin Diaz, he had the suspension for the sticky stuff for 10 games. He had the injury, but it looks like he's getting back into form. There were questions about his velocity earlier in the season where it's like, he's not even hitting 95, 96. And I think in his last appearance, he was hitting triple digits. So I think he's feeling himself. He's back I think he's got his confidence back, and I think he's back to where he needs to be, like 2022 almost, maybe, hopefully, because that's what it's going to have to take. Because Ottavino's taken a huge, every time Ottavino's in, it's like a guaranteed run, at least a run. Christian Scott came up and looked real good. And then he just had 1 or 2 bad innings per start. He got demoted to AAA, and then he comes back up. But Brett Beatty went back down to the AAA, and I would have to imagine maybe he's a September call up. 8 blown saves in May for that bullpen. And then the Louis Torrens trade with the Yankees. With Narvaez and Nito struggling, while our Alvarez was out. Alvarez comes back. They DFA Narvaez. Nito is the odd man out, because it's like, as likable as he is, as popular as he is, in the clubhouse and with fans, just not quite producing. And so Louis Torrens has been a nice upgrade over that. But I mean, during that stretch in May, it was like, we're talking about the teardown, Alonso, Severino. I mean, everyone was on the table. It's like obviously Alonso, but Severino, Minaya, Quintana, JD Martinez, Harrison Bader, Ottavino, Marte, McNeil. It looks like that was the way we're headed. And then, it's been really great to see the turnaround. It's just unbelievable. So, so as much as we want to, point to Grimace as the major turnaround event, I think it was probably. I mean, it's a confluence of things, right? When did he throw out that first pitch? June 12th? Yeah, I guess it was June 12th. So a lot of people are saying that's when it turned around. I mean, it's just all kinds of things are coming together, and it all just feels good. As far as top moments from the first half, I think that extra innings walk-off by Mark Vientos against the Cardinals was awesome. Francisco Lindor had a couple of walk-offs. Nimmo had a walk-off. He had that game against the Braves that was unbelievable. It was like 2-3 home runs. There was a double play to end the game in London. I believe that was early June, like the first weekend in June 8th, 9th, or 10th, where that felt good against a Phillies team that was a juggernaut, a freight train out of hell. So for us to pull out that tight game, close win in such dramatic fashion, that feels like, okay, maybe that's, a moment that that's definitely a moment that you can point to and say, yeah, I think that's a contributor to the clubhouse getting their mojo back, if you will. JD Martinez, I can't believe this stat, and I refuse to believe it, had his first walk-off home run. This guy's been in the majors forever, kid. And he has his first walk-off home run. Wild. We took it to the Yankees, who, much like the Phillies, I think they own the best record in their league, or they did. I think the Orioles might have overtaken them. But at the time, the Yankees were flying high, and we were able to, it's only a 2-game set, but the fact that we were able to take both games, pretty impressive. We had, it's this will show you how long this baseball season has been and is. We've had Seymour Wiener, our Army vet, 90 some odd year old Army vet. We've had the Rally Pimp, which caused people to lose their shit online, like celebrating. I mean, what are my thoughts on it? Well, I mean, do I by dressing as a pimp, are you endorsing the abuse, this sexual sex trafficking? No, dude. No, obviously not. You're not glorifying the abuse of prostitutes. I think there's a number of ways that you can take the word pimp, like, oh, he pimped that home run. Oh man, that guy's a pimp. He's an OG, meaning he's cool, not meaning that he has a stable of hoes that he often has to smack around in order to make a living. I don't think that's what we're saying with that. So, but people like to get angry, That's what life is all about, getting angry. I should know. There's no one angrier on this planet than me. So Grimace was a big part of this. And then we got the Glizzy Iggy. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, we had the Rally Parrot. We had one thing in 2015. Or was it 2016? We had the Rally Parrot. And now it feels like we have like 5, 6, 7. It's just like everything is just, it's the making of a magical season. The DVD will be insane. But like Reese Hoskins making the crying gesture That was this season. That felt like 5 years ago. So, this Jose Iglesias thing though is wild. Just wild. The song OMG, he's Cuban American. He became interested in music after defecting from Cuba as an 18-year-old. He's formed a close-knit bond with Mark Anthony, J-Lo's ex. The two are so tight, in fact, that Iglesias and Anthony sport matching tattoos on their forearms. The track OMG, released on June 28th, and it's garnered more than 300,000 plays on Spotify and YouTube. He performed after a Mets win at Citi Field, which that whole sequence felt like something out of a friggin' movie. We win the ball game, and then he performed, like the player who helps to win the game then performs his hit song on the field. He performed at the All-Star game. Just unreal. It's funny though, every time he performs, it's like you can't get any more obvious with the lip syncing. I mean, maybe I'm completely off here, but it's just like so obvious he's lip syncing. And the song itself, I mean, the first time I heard it, I was like, this is a hit song. But then I'm thinking to myself, shit, it is kind of catchy. And now that we're playing it, and now it's just got this amazing good fortune and luck attached to it. So it's like, yeah, now I freaking love this song. You know, it's kind of like the first time you hear well, maybe not, the narco theme from Timmy Trumpets, like, the first time you hear it, like, this isn't really striking fear into the heart of the opponent for our closer, like, say, an Enter Sandman or Hell's Bells. But then you you were there, 2022, you were there. You know what happened. I mean, literally I've said it before, my niece and nephew were playing it nonstop. They don't even watch baseball, and their dad's a Braves fan. So I thought that was like amazing. The lyrics also, to me, elevate the song even more because it's like, oh, it's catchy. And like, it's just it's been kind of the not the fight song, but like our theme song for the year. And it's like, all right, it's cool. But like the lyrics are interesting too, where they kind of align with and make perfect sense for his emergence and for the team's emergence. And I quote, OMG, throw all the bad things away from here. OMG, give me health and prosperity. I have nothing, but I am happy. Only memories inhabit me. Dreams to fulfill, and I'm going to achieve them. Maybe I'm crazy, but not lazy, and I will keep going until I achieve it. Oh my God, throw all the bad things away from here. Oh my God, give me health and prosperity. Let all the planets align for me. May my wallet not go on a diet anymore. May good luck visit me to help all my people. Oh my God, throw all the bad things away from here. Oh my God, give me health and prosperity. I had to give thanks for one more day of life, for the friends who are few today. Don't do evil because everything turns around. One day you're down, the next you're up. Dreams to fulfill, and I'm going to achieve them. Maybe I'm crazy, but not lazy. Let the evil tongues have no chance, and let envy not reach me. May time always be my witness. I only do good, that's why I ask. Fight for your dreams, because yes, you can. And when you don't find the way out, sing with me. Throw all the bad things away from here and give me health and prosperity. I've never been a man of God. I don't pray. I went to a Catholic high school. I'm not Catholic. I think everyone knows that. I only go to church for weddings and funerals. But after hearing that song and seeing what it's done to the Mets, in combination with other things like I'm watching like Receiver, that new documentary on Netflix, docuseries on Netflix, where it follows like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Justin Jefferson. And it's just like, I think, Deebo and Justin Jefferson are praying. And I think even Devontae Adams is praying, right? Pray. And it's like, and George Kittle does this thing where it's not prayer officially, but it's a lot of like very positive affirmations akin to meditation. And it's like, I think maybe, I was like, that's so corny. That's so hokey. The only reason that these players are playing well is because they're physically gifted. They were gifted genetically. That's it. But then you think about it, and it's like, well, I mean, especially with the Raiders last season, where it's like under Josh McDaniels, everyone's like pissed off and angry, and they're not playing their best. And then Antonio Pierce becomes the coach, and like the whole mood changes in the clubhouse, and the team plays better. So it's just crazy how the human mind works, and how the mind-body connection is just so goddamn powerful. And it's like I as much as I resist it and I'm hesitant to do it, it's like maybe I do need to just literally close my eyes and chant positive things to myself. And maybe that'll turn things around. I mean, I'm witnessing it. I am witness. I am witnessing his glory. But like God, quote unquote, is really just this. When you're praying to God, I'm not trying to get religious on you or spiritual, but it feels like there's something there where it's like just the thinking happy thoughts, just thinking positively, which I never, I guess when I was in Little League, when I played in Little League, my father was like, visualize yourself throughout the day, not just before the game or before you get up at bat, but throughout the day. Visualize yourself hitting a home run. So like basically think about hitting a home run and you will hit a home run. I thought about it all day and I did. So it's just like, that is nuts to me. And I guess if you were the religious type, you would say, oh, Neal has lost his way over the past, I don't know, 2 decades plus. So maybe I just got to get back to visualizing and thinking positive, because I mean I don't know. But then again, you don't hear about or see about the guys that are doing that day in and day out and not succeeding. They don't get the spotlight or the headlines. So I'm sure that happens where it's like you have people. I mean, my grandmother, God rest her soul, would always say, I'm praying for you. My great aunt always says, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, yeah, well, thanks. And in the back of my head, I'm like, well, you can pray all you want. It's not going to change anything. But like, if I do this quote unquote praying where it's like thinking positively, like, is that going to result in less negativity, less doubt, et cetera, et cetera? So I think, and it's infectious and contagious. You can see it. I hate to keep talking about receiver, but George Kittle, his personality and the fact that he's stays positive, it's infectious and contagious. Some might find it annoying, but that is essentially what's happening with this Mets team. Jose Iglesias with the song, Severino, and then it's Lindor. It's like it's literally a virus, and I hope there's no cure, because like, I mean, this is the cure for what has ailed them. The fact that they were able to, whatever was transpired or happened in that meeting, I think it was, it started there, and then it kind of like you latch on to something. I mean, that happened when I was in college playing baseball. It's just it's a saying, or it's a gesture or a motion or an activity or a story, and it just clicks, and then something good happens and you kind of go back to it. It's superstition. But superstition, for whatever reason, your mind makes that connection between I see this thing or I hear this thing, I touch this thing, and good things happen. It's just putting your mind in the right position to win. Holy shit. Major League, the movie Major League. I mean, like, you bring out the cutout of the bitchy owner who's kind of hot, and like you start stripping off one piece of clothing for every win you get. And it's just like, it's just something, it's the, I don't want to say the catalyst or the impetus, but it's you, it's that thing that you hold on to, and it's the token. So, and the Mets have it right now. Now, it's great, but can they sustain it for an entire another half of the season? That's what is going to be so tough. That's what's ultimately. It's like you almost wish that this happened in September, like in the latter half of September. Like if they could have done this, like had the June they had in September, where everything starts to come together and like they have all these things that they're using to drive themselves, to put themselves in that positive state of mind to win and be confident. It's like the timing's just off. I feel like if they had this in September, we're winning the fucking World Series. But now they had it in June. It's like, let's see if they can continue it. And so, we've now gone from, well, we're for sure sellers at the trade deadline to now we're potential buyers. Some other interesting stats and factoids that I came across. I don't think I'm going to do a trade. I mean, I think I'm going to do a full trade deadline episode because the trade deadline is July 30th. I'm recording this on July 18th. It'll publish July 19th. So we have about 2 weeks to go. So maybe the week of, maybe I'll put on a huge preview of what to expect. As of right now, like I said, the bullpen needs a lot of help. So I think that's that's like priority number one. They're saying maybe a frontline starter. I feel pretty, call me crazy, but I feel pretty good about Senga coming back, right? I think they said end of July he'll be coming back, which the timing on that kind of sucks too. It's like you really wish he could have come back sooner than that so that you could see, okay, do we need to go out and get a starter? Or do we need to shut him down for the season or push him back and have him rehab again? So maybe, yeah, you do get a starter as insurance. But I love the fact that Senga, Quintana, Severino, Manaya, Scott is your fifth, right? I know they have him on kind of a short leash. Mendoza pulled him early. That one game cost us, but it's because he was on 4 days rest. He'd thrown almost 100 pitches last outing. The bullpen couldn't help him out last outing. Mendoza was hoping that the bullpen could bail him out then, and they imploded. So that's iffy. Senga's iffy. But you got to feel good about Quintana, Severino, and Manaya. Hauser's in the bullpen. Praise Allah, and I guess he's doing. He's doing better in the bullpen than he is starting. He's doing less. I'll say this: he's doing less damage in the bullpen than he is starting, I guess. And then help on the bench, which, I know there was Drew Gilbert has been hurt, so I don't know if he'll be a September call up, but you got to figure Beatty will be back up. But to be buyers at the trade deadline, on paper, you look at the 2023 Mets versus the 2024 Mets. Before, no games have been played. You're just looking at paper going into those respective seasons. You're like 2023. We're going back to the playoffs. We're going to the World Series. And then we were sellers of the trade deadline. This year, we're just lucky we're just having fun. We're just lucky to be professionals and making money playing a kid's game. And now we're buyers. So, but I think I said this at the end of last season. And then I think I said this before this season. I was like, I would not be shocked if we are in the playoff hunt. And because there's so many goddamn playoff spots, 7 playoff spots, half the friggin' league makes it. You always have a shot. Even when we were in that horrific slump, it was like because the National League just stinks or stunk. As the Mets stunk, so did the National League. And so even though we were like so many games below 500, it was like, well, we're 3.5 games out of the wild card spot just because the rest of the National League stunk. It was really just the Dodgers and Phillies that were winning a lot of games. Despite overlapping streaks, the Mets streak, most recent streak, was only the 10th time this century the Mets have won 15 games over a 19-game stretch. So that means 21st century, 2000 on, past 24 years, 24 seasons. This is only the 10th time they have won 15 games over a 19-game stretch. And it puts them along some of their best runs during playoff years, 2000, 2006, and 2022. Whoa. So for the doubters, the naysayers, the haters, the skeptics, the critics, the cynics, I don't know how you can look at that and be like, this team is not a playoff team. We'll blow it. Quit being Randy Quaid in Major League too. Know what I mean? Quit it. Turn that rally cap inside out. Extended hot streaks have been a staple of successful seasons throughout the Mets franchise history. The Mets didn't win 15 of 19 a single time between 1962 and 1968. Their first, 7 seasons in existence when they were basura, garbage. 74 to 83 was another dark period, the dark times. And 92 to 98, also dark times. Even though I really did like our 96, 97, and 98 teams. I really like those teams. Even though they weren't playoff teams, but man, they were still kind of fun to watch. So those were stretches where we didn't make the playoffs. We didn't win 15 of 19 a single time in those stretches. We did in 2000, 2006, and 2022. So that is a good sign for us. And it means that I've now got my hopes out of the gutter, because it was, it was just like anytime we were leading or winning in May, towards the end of May, it was just like guaranteed loss. Like, we need to be up by so many more runs to win this game. As for the best calendar months in franchise history, this past June ranks right up there at 15-6 in terms of winning percentage. The Mets have only had one better June in franchise history when we went 21-7 in 1990. Damn, we played 28 friggin' games in June of 1990. Were there no, I mean, where was the players union on that? That feels like a shit ton of games. That's a game almost every day. 750 winning percentage. 1990 Mets didn't make the playoffs. I mean, I've talked about this ad nauseum, but Jesus Christ, if the mid to late 80s and early 90s had the current playoff format, the Mets would have done a lot of fucking damage, man. A lot of damage, because we were good in 87. We were good in 89. We were good in 90. I mean, let's take a friggin', you know what? Let's take a goddamn look. Okay. You're not going to let me look, huh? Okay. All right. Here we are. 91-71, 4 games at a first. 89, we were 87-75. 87, we were 92-70. 85, we were 98-64. 84, we were 90-72. I mean, from 84 to 90, we averaged almost 90 or more wins every season. Yeah, and then it goes to shit in the early 90s, mid 90s, but got back, like, that's what I'm saying. 97, 98, we were getting close to 90 wins again. So, 1990 Mets, 91-71, missed the postseason. That is just unfair. That is just not fair. I can't imagine being on those teams and thinking like you're a failure or you failed because you didn't make the postseason, when it's like, I'd be, I don't know. How come I can't get to the friggin' 90? Okay, here we are. I mean, Jesus Christ, the Reds were in the National League. There were only 2 divisions, the East and the West. Pirates had 95 wins in the East, and so they get to go to the playoffs. They got beat by the Reds, who had 91 wins, the same amount of wins that we had. And the Reds ended up going to the World Series and sweeping the A's. That's what I'm talking about. So you got to think of, like, the Mets probably. I wonder how the Mets did against the Reds that year. Because literally, that's all they had to do is beat the Reds to go to the World Series. What the hell was our record against the Reds that year? 6-6. All right, man, that would have been a cool game 7. a 7-game NLCS to go face the friggin' Bash Brothers, bruh. That'd have been cool. So, and I've been thinking about how I do the Mets on this podcast, and it's either going to go one of 2 ways, or one of 3 ways, I'd say. One is I just stop talking about the Mets because I don't think anyone gives a shit. I don't want to stop talking about them though. So it's like, probably not. Or I guess it's 4. One is keep it consistent every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, try to cover them twice a month or once a month. Another one is only at the big moments or times. So like free agency, trade deadline, postseason if it happens, all-star break. And then another one is just go straight nostalgia. So just do, like, for instance, doing a whole breakdown of the 1990 Mets, which I kind of like a lot because I think that would get more legs. Anywho, little peek behind the curtain for everyone out there. Love how derailed I got on that fucking stat, but yeah. So one of the best Junes in club history. I'm not accustomed to that. I'm not used to it. Usually we get that June swoon, June gloom. And this year we got the June boom, baby. So only 4 Mets teams have produced winning percentages higher than 750 in a calendar month. And the 86 World Series champions were 13-3 in April of 86. Holy shit. Christ, was it? The 2018 Mets were like 11-1 to start the season. Shit the bed. So I don't know if I like that stat. But let's hope that this year's squad doesn't shit the bed coming down the home stretch. 4 of the top 20 leaders in National League position player FWAR were Mets, Lindor, Nimmo, Martinez, and Vientos. 5 of the top 22 at National League leaders in OPS were orange and blue. So you got Harrison Bader was the 5th. Harrison Bader coming on strong. God damn. Our 6.43 runs per game in June was more than a full run better than just about every team in the league and twice as productive as a couple of the bottom clubs. Whoa. Per Fangraphs, the Mets' odds of reaching the postseason, which had dipped as low as 7.9% on June 2nd, has quintupled to 42%. And that article is not even from, it was before they were able to wrap up June. Because I think I just saw what is it here? Does it have it here? Baseball Reference has it. Where is it here? There we are. A 49% chance to make the postseason and a 1.2% chance to win the World Series. So we kick things off against the Marlins. Then we have the Yankees. I wonder how we finish out the season. Be good to look at, huh? It's kind of wild that we've been shut out 7 times by opponents, but we've only shut out an opponent once. We have 26 comeback wins, 23 blown leads, 6 walk-off wins, 2 walk-off losses. We're getting better at home, which is good because we were not great at home for a large portion of the season. Only 5-8 in extra innings, but we're 18-10 in one-run games, which has to mean something. 8-12 in interleague. We just fucking suck against the American League. Like, I'm looking at our records against opponents this season. We are under 500 against the Tigers, Astros, and and Rays. The fucking American League, dude. We did take 2 of 3 from the Rangers, which was nice, but winless against the Brewers, winless against the Indians. I know the Brewers are a National League team. And we're not particularly, we struggle against the Giants. Now we're just talking across all of Major League Baseball. We still struggle with the fucking Marlins. They will never not be a thorn in our side. I'm just looking at potential playoff teams. We're 500 against the Braves. Okay. 2-4 against the Phillies, although we looked good against them last go around. 2-4 against the Dodgers. 2-1 against Cincinnati. 4-3 against the Cubs. Yeah, that last season in Chicago, that last series in Chicago, took it to them. We won. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. We won 5 of our last 6 and 7 of our last 9 to finish to as we went into the All-Star break. I mean, yeah, it sucks that we split against the Nationals and Pirates. I mean, those kind of series give you pause for concern. Definitely give you some doubt where it's like, and the 2 wins that we did against Washington, we had to do it in extras. So glad to get the win, but it's like, Washington is not exactly a top-notch team. Neither is Pittsburgh, I don't think. So to struggle against them is not great. I'm just glad we're winning against the Padres. I hate losing the Padres. That wild card loss still stings. Yeah, so I guess looking ahead to the second half, we start off with the Marlins. Maybe we can get another 2-game sweep of the Yankees. This time it's going to be at Yankee Stadium. 4-game set against the Braves. We'll see how we stack up against them. Homestand against the Twins. Interesting things. I don't even know how the Twins are doing this year. At the Angels. We have a makeup game against the Cardinals, Mariners, A's, Marlins. And then we have the Orioles, Padres, Diamondbacks. That's going to be a hellacious stretch, I think. Even though the Diamondbacks aren't exactly what they were last year. Who knows? No one thought they were going to go to the friggin' World Series. So maybe they'll turn around. But man, Orioles, Padres, Diamondbacks. Coming off that another Marlins series. So that from mid-August, August 16 through the end of August, that could be rough treading, rough seas, my friend. Buckle up. But then we end August against the White Sox, face the Red Sox, Reds, Blue Jays, Phillies. Oof. And then we have the Nationals, Phillies, Braves, Brewers. September is going to be a month to remember, folks. So I honestly think we're going to get that last wild card. I really do. So let's look here. Oh, I guess the Twins are exceptional this year. Jesus, they are leading. They are half a game back. Oh, no. They have the second wild card behind the Yankees and 1 game ahead of the Red Sox. Oy, oy, oy. So yeah, we really got to beat up on. I guess the Blue Jays stink this year. That's interesting. We'd really like to beat up on them because they have the last, I don't even know, like 4 or 5 years, I feel like we have stunk against the Blue Jays. But I would love to take it to the Blue Jays, Angels, A's, and White Sox. Let's beat up on the basement of the AL. Try and split with the Twins and Red Sox. The Mariners too. Oof. Does the Phillies schedule get any fucking harder or tougher? I remember they had one of the major reasons why they were atop of the division is because they had one of the easier schedules. But yeah, we need to really stick it to teams like the Nationals, Rockies, and Marlins. We can't be splitting series with these guys. Come on now. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are a game above 500. They're only a game out of the wild card. So yeah, that stretch in August is going to be tricky. And then we have another stretch in September that's going to be tricky. So David Stearns, his first trade deadline with the Mets. we're not looking for like a huge big splash here. I know they traded for what's his name, Phil Maton, reliever. What's his deal? 31 years old, drafted by the Padres in the 20th round out of Louisiana Tech. So far this year, he's played with he started off with the Rays, 4.58 ERA, 1-2, 2 saves, and he's already pitched in 3 games for the Mets, 4.50 ERA. I don't know. I mean, it's not. I don't think I'm going to write home about it, but it's like his whip is 0.5. I know it's only 3 games. It's only 2 innings, but we'll take all the help we can get in that pen, y'all. Curious to see. I think Stearns has got something up his sleeve. Do you deal McNeil? Seems like he's the. I mean, there was talk about, when we were definitely sellers, it was like, okay, well, you can still trade Alonso for prospects and then just re-sign him in the offseason. Can you talk to Pete? That's when they were sellers. So like, I thought that was an interesting strategy where it's like, okay, can you talk to Pete and be like, hey, we're out of it this year. We want you back next year, but we can get some players, some prospects, secure our future. What do you think? And I know you're missing half or a little less than half of the season, and it's just a little blip on the radar, guy. You're doing the franchise a solid, and we'll do you a solid in free agency. But obviously, that's all. I think that's definitely off the table now, right? But McNeil, I don't know that you're going to get much in return for him, but maybe you don't need much in return. Like, who needs a middle infielder? I mean, he's more of a utility guy, right? He can play the outfield. And I think that's the beauty of what's happening with Iglesias and the fact that Marte's hurt is that you can put McNeil in right and you can start Iglesias and you can showcase McNeil's versatility. So maybe that'll tickle someone's pickle at the deadline. But in terms of buyers at the deadline, you're probably going to look in the American League, hopefully, right? You've done a trade with the Yankees already. Would you do another one? What do the Twins need? What do the Red Sox need? What do the Royals need? What do the Astros need? For whatever reason, I feel like the Mariners might be a good trade partner. We've traded with them in the past. We had the Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano, Jared Kelenic trade. I mean, who the fuck won that? I don't know. I think we did. And then, yeah, would you trade with the Guardians? You've done it before for Lindor, Ahmad Rosario, Andre Jimenez, and Cookie Carrasco. So yeah, I think there are some partners there. I definitely think there's some partners there. So yeah, we'll get more into the trade deadline either next week. Let me take a look at this friggin' calendar, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be next week. So on Tuesday, we'll get more into the trade deadline stuff, see who some potential targets are, who our trade partners are. And then after that trade deadline episode, trade deadline episode, I might do a recap of July in that episode, and then I probably will not be talking Mets until the end of August. Do a nice little end of August recap there. As for right now, I got to go. Send in the clowns. Put it in the books. But if you, I know there are some people that are canceled. Looking at you, KFC. Looking at you, Kevin Francis Clancy. There are some people that are sipping Margies in Cunsalina. I think even Clem said he was in Cunsalina. Oh no, Justin Clemenza with Barstool. He's in Cunsalina. But I think Kyle Gelling held strong, and I think Meek Mill held strong. They didn't console. And look at us now. Look at us now. Insert Paul Rudd on, what was it, Hot Wings? What the hell's that show? Look at us now. It's nuts. Like on Peloton, my tag is Let's Go Mets, and I never took it down. So I don't think I've never officially canceled, because you never know, and you gotta believe. By the way, what the fuck with the All-Star situation? Alonso is our only All-Star. Look at these stats from Brandon Nimmo. First among National League outfielders in runs scored, second in FWAR, second in WRC plus, second in OPS plus, second in WPA, third in WOBA, fourth in OPS, tied for fourth in homers, tied for fourth in RBIs. Didn't make the All-Star team. Only 15 times in Major League Baseball history, including this season, has a player recorded 15 or more home runs, 25 or more doubles, and 15 or more stolen bases before the All-Star break. And the only player to not make the All-Star team, Francisco Lindor. Lindor hasn't made an All-Star team since 2019. Here's where Lindor ranks in FWAR since that time. 7th. The last 3 players with 25 plus doubles, 15 plus homers, and 15 plus stolen bases in the first half of the season were Ronald Acuna Jr. in 2023, which I think he was the MVP, Bobby Witt Jr. this season, and Francisco Lindor. Here's another crazy stat: 200 or more home runs, 200 or more doubles, 100 or more stolen bases by a shortstop through their first 10 seasons in Major League Baseball history. 2, A-Rod, and our boy, Mr. Smile, Francisco Lindor. Nimmo ranks second among all National League outfielders with a 2.8 WAR. Lindor ranks second among all National League shortstops with a 3.3 WAR. It sucks, dude. And, we did take a page out of the Phillies book, because remember, who was struggling? Was it Trey Turner for the Phillies? And then they give him a standing ovation. He turned around. So the Mets, I mean, it pains me to say this, but we did take a page out of the Phillies fan playbook. And in the 70 plus games since we gave Lindor a standing ovation in mid-April, he's hit 272 with 14 home runs, 41 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, 493 slugging percentage, and 822 OPS. Brandon Nimmo owns the 11th highest WRC plus among qualified National League players with a 137 mark. He's behind Ohtani, Harper, Ozuna, Profar, Betts, Freeman, Tatis Jr., Smith, Abrams, and Christian Walker. I think all those guys, or most, were all-stars. I just like that we are starting to fucking pick it up with runners in scoring position. Like, I'm going to give you the Nimmo's numbers with runners in scoring position. This is posted by Jolly Olive. This season, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Brandon Nimmo has a .412 average, 7 doubles, a triple, a home run, and 21 RBIs. On top of that, we talked about how the team suffered without Francisco Alvarez. With Francisco Alvarez, when he has runners in scoring position, 316 average, 413 OBP, on base percentage, 992 OPS. We're 26-12 when he plays. So yeah, you could say we missed him just a little bit. And then Neal Nunez, 26 innings pitched, 2-0, 2.42 ERA, 32 Ks, 183 batting average against. You love to see it. And then I'll end with this. I want to talk about omens, good signs, all that jazz. 2015 Mets were 48-45 through 93 games. The 2024 Mets are 48-45 through 93 games. What more do you need to believe? I don't want to talk about the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby. The Home Run Derby sucks. It just sucks now. You can't, it's not enjoyable. Like you're supposed to marvel at the majesty of a home run being crushed and flying in the stands, and you can't because it's a split screen, so you're watching it, but it's also he's swinging at the next pitch. So that fucking sucks. Um, and I couldn't enjoy Pete Alonso in the home run derby because I don't know what was going on there. I mean, I think Joust needs to hang him up. Thank you for your service, but he needs to hang him up. And then in the All-Star game, I think he struck out. But the All-Star game is a joke. I mean, it's the best, plenty of people have said this. It's the best All-Star game of the major professional sports, but the uniforms were trash. The national anthem was a travesty during and before the home run derby. That woman is a 4-time Grammy nominee. Holy shit. Auto-tune doing all. You know who deserves a Grammy? Auto-tune. But yeah, I mean, Lindor, and this is what sucks is like people will look back on his career and be like, and it's like, and this is where the All-Star game, it's like, does it play a significant role in you making the Hall of Fame? I mean, I know that same thing with Pro Bowls in the NFL, it's like you stack Pro Bowls, you stack All-Stars, All-Star games, All-Star appearances. It only strengthens your case, right? Even though those two things are kind of a joke, because it's like, I was thinking about this earlier. There's got to be plenty of players, like Iglesias is a great example. Jose Iglesias was an All-Star in 2015 with the Tigers. You look at his numbers from that year, and it's like, what the fuck? How is he an All-Star? I think there are plenty of players that have made the All-Star team because they have had dominant, strong first halves, and then they don't do much in the second half. They either get injured or whatever. They fall off. I think you could say the same about the Pro Bowl in the NFL, because the voting ends at a certain time before the season ends. I don't know. So I think Lindor is going to get fucked by that in the end, because he should have been an All-Star this year. Should have been an All-Star last year. Sorry. Well, yeah, he could have been an All-Star last year. He could have been an All-Star in 2022. Should have been. So it's 3 All-Star appearances. I don't know, dude. I'm just rambling at this point, but it just sucks because I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's an empty accomplishment or achievement, because it's like, it's just like, what is it? It doesn't, I don't think it's the best players. It used to be, in my opinion, it used to be. I don't know if it was just I wasn't paying close enough attention when I was a kid, but it felt like it was the best players in the All-Star game in the Pro Bowl. But now it's just like, I don't know. So sucks for Lindor and sucks for Nimmo. But again, I think part of that's going to be fuel for the fire, right? For those guys. And I think those are 2 guys where I don't see them, maybe they do regress a little bit, but I don't see them slumping for too long. Honestly, I really do think it comes down to the bullpen. Can we solidify and strengthen the bullpen? Because I think the starting rotation is going to continue to chug along, especially with Alvarez. I mean, if we lose Alvarez again, I mean, I hate to pin a season on one player, but if we lose Alvarez again, I think your odds significantly dip. So as long as Alvarez stays healthy, Lindor, Nimmo, Alonso stay healthy, Vientos stays healthy, and we find 1 or 2 relievers to help us out, I think we got a really strong shot at winning it all. Okay, that's enough. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. And we'll talk to you so soon. On the flip, my man.